vitamins, supplements, and lots more. Visit us today or call 440-2165. Ask about our call-in prescriptions, discounted items, and special delivery requests. Gittens Pharmacare. Care, convenience, expertise. We've got it all. This program is brought to you compliments ACB Grenada Bank, Simply Smarter Banking, and Gittens Pharmacare, the pharmacy that cares. Gittens Pharmacare, the pharmacy that cares. Halifax Street, St. George's. Affordable access to care, a wide range of prescription drugs, medical supplies, health and beauty items, diabetic testing supplies, immune system support products, vitamins, supplements, and lots more. Visit us today or call 440-2165. Ask about our call-in prescriptions, discounted items, and special delivery requests. Gittens Pharmacare. Care, convenience, expertise. We've got it all.
Greetings and welcome to Interesting Grenadians. Today we feature Dr. Debra and John, medical practitioner, former president of the Grenada Medical Association, and first ringside doctor for amateur boxing in the region. Debra, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Eugene. Welcome.
Tell us, before we go into ringside boxing and your works in that area, tell us a little bit about yourself, first of all, about your family.
Okay, well, as you said, and most people may know, I am Debra Ann Stevens John. I'm Grenadian by birth, from Calavini, Confer, Calavini. My maternal roots stem from St. David's, Windsor Forest to be exact.
Okay.
Yes. And my paternal part of the family actually stems from Carriacou. And so I've lived most of my life, if not all my life, in Calavini. The first maybe 12 years or so we lived in Paddock, and then we moved to Calavini, and I traveled, came back, and I'm still there.
Right. So where did you go to school?
Okay, so my formative years, I like to give the whole journey, because there was a little school in Paddock called Teacher Maud. That's where I started school. Then I went to Heinze. So Heinze was Heinze, good old Heinze.
Famous Mr. Heinze.
Famous Mr. Heinze. And from Heinze, I went to Anglican High School. So Anglican High, then I went on to IFE. So of course I was one of the students from that era. So after Anglican High, I went to IFE.
And how did the opportunity actually come along for you to become a doctor?
Okay, as I said, I went to school during that era of the revolution.
Okay.
So this is how I ended up in IFE. And at that time, scholarships were being offered. Yes, I was pretty young, just finishing sixth form, and the opportunity presented itself. And in part out of curiosity, knowing what I wanted to do, I said, well, okay, I'm going to apply, probably not thinking that I would have been accepted. And the rest is history.
So you got a scholarship to attend medical school in Cuba?
In Cuba.
Okay. So you got your medical degree from Cuba. And what happened after that? Where did you?
Okay, so after Cuba, I decided I would go to Guyana. Because fresh out of medical school, coming back home, I wanted to get a little practice.
Right.
So I just thought maybe if I go somewhere else where nobody knows you, you would probably learn a little bit more, so you come back home well charged to do what you had to do. So I went to Guyana, and I worked there for about a year and a half. So I did like an internship there, and then I came back to Grenada. So when I came back to Grenada, I felt very comfortable with what I was called to do.
And let's go to the part that would interest, I think, many Grenadians. how did you get involved in boxing and being a ringside doctor for boxing, amateur boxing? So let's talk a little bit about that. Where did that interest emerge?
Eugene, listen, this wasn't about interest. No, I have two sons, right? Siobhan is the older one, Stefan is the younger one. Two sort of different kids. Siobhan was more what I should say, he was more studious, Stefan wasn't, but Stefan is a charmer. So he got involved in boxing. I hated boxing with a passion. And he, somewhere along the line, got into it. He would go do training with Mr. Grant in Liberia and all of that without me knowing, and making it back home in time before I get home from work. And this Sunday he came and he said to me, he has a boxing match. I said, a what? And he's telling me, yes, we have a boxing match in Springs and whatnot. I said, where you come from with that? No, not under my watch. I said, I never beat you as a child, and you going for some man to beat you up in a ring? No, not at all. So he actually went. With much playing, I dropped him off, and he went to boxing, and I went back home. A few days later, my other son called me and said, Mom, why you didn't go with him? You know he got a silver medal? I said, no. He wore it under his t-shirt, never showed me. And he made me promise him to accompany his younger brother wherever he was going for boxing. And that is where that started. So by going and not wanting anybody to have to bring the news to me that something happened to your son, I started going, and the rest is history.
So you went initially
as mommy,
as mom, and also doctor, in case anything happened to him.
Yeah,
then
because it's my child. I want to take care of my son.
Right, and that evolved into this.
Yes,
so what happened next?
Well, once I got, at any tournament and people heard that I'm a doctor, they would ask me to be at the ringside. Now in Grenada, Dr. David Lambert is the first person who brought me at a ringside because he was the doctor for boxing. And I remember going with him and looking at this, and people who know my story with that, which I can't share now, and my reaction sitting at the ringside. And when I realized, well, okay, he was serious about this and people asking, I thought, well, okay, I need to get some training in this because, yes, I'm a physician, but I don't know anything about boxing.
It's specific training for boxing. So where did you get that training?
Okay, I actually did the course in Italy because at the time, Ralph James was the president of boxing. And I spoke with him. I said, Mr. James, I don't understand this. I said, yes, I'm a physician of many years, but I don't know anything about boxing. And whenever I travel with my son, they're asking me to help. And then a few weeks later, he said that, oh, the International Boxing Association put out an ad for people who were interested, and he encouraged me and pushed me, and eventually I went. The whole journey.
Doctors who are interested in ringside.
Yes, being ringside physicians.
Okay.
Yes.
So you went.
So after much pushing and encouraging, I actually went. But of course, boxing, we don't, the association, we didn't have money, so a lot of it had to come from personal effort, family effort, that sort of thing. But anyway, I went and I did it, and I came back. That was in 2013. And I went up there with the mindset that I have to excel, I have to do well, because I was one of 3 women and the only, as I would say, black female. So you had to really push yourself.
Represent.
So whether I had to do without breakfast to be there early and to do my best, I was there. And of course, I did excel. Nonetheless, I did not have ring experience. So that for the practical part of the exam, I wasn't sure how to get into the ring, whether I had to jump over, jump under, and then somebody said you have to go between, and they opened the ropes. So after that, I learned to hop into that between those ropes like nothing.
What does a ringside doctor really do?
Well, a ringside physician is one who takes care of the boxers before the bout, during, and after. So you are responsible for ensuring that the boxer is properly prepared to go in the ring. So for instance, if I have a tournament, we go the morning and we would examine the boxers. They would have already come probably accompanied by their own physician with everything. We examine their books, make sure that they had no concussions, no prior injury, things like that. And we will do a physical examination. And we say, okay, you fit the box. So you get cleared and you go in and your rounds begin. And we're sitting at the ringside. Now we're up close and personal, so now we're getting everything that comes from in that ring, whether it's sweat, everything. Sometimes you have to be dodging it, but it's interesting. And you are paying attention to what is going on in that ring. And you learn to establish eye communication with the referee who is in the ring. Okay, so you're looking intensely. You're not being entertained. You're not there.
What are you looking for exactly?
Okay, so you're looking for potential injuries. You're looking to see the state of the boxer while he is in the ring. And you may spot something, you know this boxer is getting tired, or maybe he might have a dislocation, things like that. So you're paying attention, you're following their every move, you're looking at their feet. If you spot like a lace is coming out of place, you make eye contact with the referee and you show him. So they may not see everything, because remember, the one referee in there, he is also following. So between the ringside doctor and the referee, you're in constant eye contact and on the boxer.
Let me ask you about that though. So if indeed in fact a lace is untied, can they stop the bout for minutes and get
the referee? Not a minute, a couple seconds.
I mean a couple seconds.
Yes, the referee will do the stopping. Okay, he will call for time and he will direct him to the corner he has to go to.
Okay.
Right, and they take care of that. And you know, sometimes I'm looking on and I see something on the canvas, and I would point and say this. And the way the ring is set up, the ringside physician is always in a neutral corner, and then you have the 5 judges around, which is different to professional boxing where you have 3 judges. So you have your 5 judges and you have your technical delegate on the side of the doctor. So you as a physician, you could always be in contact with the technical delegate, because as a physician, you cannot just go and say, stop, stop, stop. When I was new to the ringside, locally,
you tried that?
Locally, I did it, because that time I wasn't
trained yet.
And I'm looking at the guy and I'm seeing that, oh my God, he's getting blows, and I was like, stop, stop. I think most physicians, if you're not trained in the sport, will do that. Because remember, as a physician, you are trained to do your best, first and foremost, save lives and so on. And you're seeing this happening. The natural thing will be to stop it. But then this is where being a ringside physician comes in. You learn the rules of the games and know where your lane is, which track you should stay on.
Right. and the right way to do things.
And the right way to do things.
You know, I always consider boxing to be a very brutal sport. Like, to me, American football, even though I enjoy them, and boxing, I don't know if I enjoy boxing anymore. I find it to be a very brutal sport. How safe and how protected are boxers in the ring?
Okay.
What precautionary measures to mitigate injuries and stuff?
Like you, Eugene, you remember I said I hated it with a passion, because I just saw this as one man beating up the next. But then when you get into the sport, you realize that there is a science with this. You hear they talk the sweet science of boxing. Really, it is. If you get a boxer who is well trained and you look at him box or spar, you will realize that it's not as brutal as it looks. Now, whenever there is blood, people are usually freaked out by blood. As a physician, you're used to blood, and you're like, the man bleeding, why you don't stop it? It is not that bad, because our rule is to protect the boxer. Remember I said before the bout. So if you had any injury before, we will not allow you to go in the ring. And if you're in the ring and we see that there is potential for injury, we are going to request that the round be stopped. Right? So you will not be there getting blows, and you fighting and dragging. That is not allowed. right? And amateur boxing now, you notice that some of the bouts you don't have the headgear on. The women, they would wear the headgear. The men, they don't have the elite boxers. They don't have the headgear on, but we pay attention to that. You look for headbutts, you look for, you know, cuts and things like that. So you really want to protect. And there are rest periods that are given. So if I think you got a concussion or you took too much blows, I know the amount of rest time to give you, not only from going in the ring, but from sparring. Because in sparring, you can be injured as well. So we want to ensure that the sport remains one of the safest sports around. It looks brutal, but it is pretty safe.
God forbid. But let's say your son got knocked out in the ring in front of you. I don't know if that ever happened. No. What is your action if you are the ringside doctor?
No. If my son is boxing, I cannot be the ringside boxer.
Right, that would be right.
Similarly, if, you know, when I go out there, I represent first and foremost Grenada, right? Yes, I'm Debra Ann, but Grenada first and foremost. So if Grenada is in the ring, I am no way around the field of play. I had a knockout when I was at ringside in Cuba. I don't recall which country the guy was from. One of the Asian countries or somewhere there. And of course, the referee will call doctor and you have to get in. Now, the minute the doctor gets into the ring, that's the end of it.
End of the match?
Yes, okay. Yes. Once you step, if you can go on the apron, which is on the neutral corner outside, you can blot a cut, you look at it, flash your light, decide, okay, box. Or if the person is not in a state, you say, no box, stop. But once you step foot in the ring, that's the end of it. So I had to go in, and in that case, you now have your, you know, the physician is really responsible for setting up everything at the venue. So you know where your EMTs are. That's your emergency medical people. So you call them to lift the person up. Or if the person could get up, you have them sit up. We have things that we say to them, things that we do, and then we escort them to their corner, and that's the end of that. And then we will take them to the medical room and do a complete examination. And if we think they need to go to the local hospital, we send them to the hospital accompanied by, so it's safe.
Where are some of the places in the world this has taken you?
Well, all over, because within the region, within the Caribbean region, we have one ringside doctor in Cuba, we have one in Ecuador, we have one in Brazil, and one...
Any females?
No, I'm the only female.
You're the only female?
I'm the only female. Yes, so, and with, you know, women being, you know, the sport being more inclusive for women, there is a need for female doctors. There's a need, So by being in there, you know, I'm using this as an opportunity to mentor and encourage other female physicians to get on the ringside.
So some of the countries...
okay, I've been far and wide. So I've done some of the bigger tournaments. Well, the local tournaments, yes. I've done OECS. I've done Caribbean Championships, Trinidad, and in the wider world. For the bigger things like Commonwealth in Australia. I did Russia twice for the junior world boxing, and the female boxing in Kazakhstan. I did 2 female championships in India. I did the qualifiers for Olympics, one in Jordan, one in London, and that is when COVID broke out. So that was my last assignment. And then I had the men's championship in Russia. But at the time I had, you know, family issues, so I had to pass on that one. Yeah, so
it's taken me
all over
the world.
I remember once when I say we represent our country in Kazakhstan, I believe, I heard somebody say Miss Grenada. So I'm looking around and I'm like, wow, there is another Grenadian here. Because when I hear Miss Grenada, I'm thinking maybe a beauty pageant or somebody is there. So I'm looking around And then he said, "Are you not from Grenada?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, you I'm referring to." And then I realized that these people see you, they may not remember your name, but they remember your country. So for instance, in boxing tournament, they would say, in the ring we have which country in the red, which country in the blue. The referee from Trinidad and Tobago, we have one referee judge from the region as well, Mr. Beckles. They would say from Trinidad and Tobago, James Beckles. And then they list all the judges by their country. From Algeria, this person. From Spain, this. Then they give you a name. And ringside doctor from Grenada. They don't say Debra, they say ringside doctor from Grenada, Debra and Stevens, Johnny. So you have to go out there and really represent. You're like an ambassador for your country.
Right. Does being a ringside doctor help you in any way in your regular practice?
It does. It gives me a broader scope of things. Okay, being a physician, yes, but being a ringside physician, when I come in contact with the younger folks, I'm able to identify and chat with them, because we have young boxers here who have been able to mentor and encourage in their regular life. So you try to tell them, listen, if you are going to do this, if you're going to be serious about sport, remember you could be drug tested without warning. So that's one of the things I push. I say, you know, when you go out there, this is what is expected, that is what is expected. Because in our part of the world, we are not as fortunate as some of the bigger countries. Because I notice when some of the, you know, without saying names, bigger countries travel, they travel with their boxers, coaches, nutritionists, physiotherapists, and even at times they cook. When we travel, you know, just a poor boxer and the coach alone go in. So it's a little bit different. So I have to say to you, listen, when we go out there, this is what we see. So this is what is expected of you. So firsthand, I'm able to bring it home to the young guys so that they can. And in terms of with my regular practice, it helps me to, you know, identify certain injuries, and depending on what you're in, I can tell you, well, okay, I believe this is this, I believe that is that. So everything meshes.
What are the main injuries you see that boxers get?
Okay, some people get concussions. Now we have the cuts. A lot of cuts sometimes happen. They get cuts on the brow, cuts on the cheek, broken nose. But then we know, depending on where the injury is, when to stop the fight. They may have dislocations. And sometimes the people who get dislocations, they will tell you that they have a history of dislocation. So you see they're holding the shoulder a particular way. I've seen boxers pop their shoulder back in place right in the ring. And I'm like, okay, we have to check this one after, because they're used to doing it and they just get it back in place. As
you talk about popping the shoulder back, and I was thinking, to me, like a broken nose sounds like a serious thing. How serious is a broken nose?
It all depends on, you know, whether it's all displaced and crushed. You know, sometimes you're able to just hold the nose and shift it back. And of course, I would stop it because I don't want any further damage. Yes.
Debra, and it's quite fascinating. Quite interesting area. Interesting area.
It's an interesting area.
I'm sure it may inspire some of the younger doctors.
Well, yes, I would love, because I mean, come on, you move out and you know you leave room for new people to come in, because nothing lasts forever. Nothing lasts forever. So, you know, I've done the course, and now we have recertification. As with everything else, you don't just sit there and say, well, I'm a ringside doctor. You have to do CMEs. In medicine, we have to do continuing medical education. So similarly,
in every field these days, huh?
Everything. And similarly, as a ringside physician, the rules, some of the rules in boxing are going to change, and you have to be up to date with your rules. You have to know the changes and be ready to move with it.
Debra, it's been a pleasure. Did you thank your son for getting you involved in this?
Yes, I have. I have done so on more than one occasion. because when you think of yourself, one thinks of his or herself from your little humble beginnings. I remember when I went to Russia the first time, there is this cathedral that everybody was going to visit, and up there you have a lot of the structures, gold structures. And when I got to the door, because we did not have like an appointment to go, there were people visiting, and I stood up in front there and I'm looking at the structure and I'm looking at the people, and I found myself shedding tears, and I'm like, wow. You think of your humble beginnings. I never thought that I would be there, seeing some of the things that I read about, seeing it in real life. And I said, no, other people should be exposed to this. So this is why I live. One of my favorite life quotes is, a candle never loses its glow. A candle will never lose its glow by lighting another. So if you get to that part where you can shine, it's always good to pull someone along, encourage them so that they can experience the same.
Absolutely, absolutely,
yes,
Debra.
yes.
Thank you so much for your time and sharing your experience with us. We really appreciate it. Thank you for watching Interesting Grenadians. Please join us again next week as we talk to another interesting Grenadian next Wednesday, 8 p.m. See you then.